How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VTWProductions.com and YouTube.com, with your favorite show hosts are still
Fenorian.
And Volacel, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week, including all of the silliness that has been happening and the ongoing saga of Bethesda. It's getting a bit sad at this point. Like, I almost feel like we should lay off because they do a better job of making fun of them than we do.
I know, right?
We should write them a thank you letter for all the content they're giving us.
Yeah, they've become in 2019. They are the new Capcom.
What annoys me actually more than anything else is while Bethesda is busy falling down the stairs, you've got all these other companies that are lining up and flinging them down the stairs after them.
Yes, it's like they just see what the guy in front of them is doing and they think, oh, I should have to do that as well then.
Yes, so you have some sort of stair-falling conga line at the moment.
But if you would like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at vtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord server, most easily accessed by going to vtwproductions.com and clicking on our show logo on any of our recent show posts, which should take you directly to our Discord server where you can converse with the hosts and other listeners to the show in real time.
Do it. So, on the stream today, I'm playing some Black Desert Online. I actually managed to get it to work on the stream because for some reason it just refused to behave itself before. It still technically isn't behaving itself, but I cheated. That more or less just segues straight into my week as well, because that's more or less what I've done this week, is finally broke through the wall to play Black Desert Online.
I see.
Yes.
I've never broken through the wall. It's just too...
It throws a lot...
I know what's on the other side, so...
Yeah, it throws a lot of information at you at once if you're not careful. What I recommend you do is just ignore everything else and just focus on the combat for a while. Get your head around that and then worry about everything else. Other people say don't do that because there's so much other content and you'll be missing out if you do, but no. The combat is by far the strongest part of this game.
I don't know how you could get the impression otherwise. I mean, it's not like I'm not saying that there aren't other things to do. I'm just saying that the combat is the showstopper.
Yeah.
If that's not the part you appreciate, then you probably won't have cause to play all that long.
Yeah, like,
to put it bluntly.
Gathering as well as gathering. The trading system is actually pretty well developed and kind of fun. It just involves a lot of sitting around doing nothing while you travel from place to place. Yeah, that's great if you want horse and wagons, I suppose. You can tame and rear your own horses, which again is great if you don't mind a lot of a downtime sitting and waiting for your horses to go place to place. So there's all this other great stuff that props up the central bit, which is the combat. Which, honestly, I'd say is probably some of the best MMO combat on the market at the moment. It's not a high bar to cross, though.
The problem is the everything else, though, right? Like, it's a game, fundamentally, and it sells you quality of life things that are the default in other MMOs.
That's right. And that's where it gets you. So, in order to... You can walk around and you can just murder things and loot, as you normally do in an MMO. But if you want auto-loot, or even to be able to pick up more than one corpse at a time, you need a pet. And pets will continuously cost you money. And they don't give you any for free. Well, yeah. Actually, you'll get one occasionally from an event. Like, I somehow managed to get one out of the Thanksgiving event, even though I wasn't playing at the time.
Furthermore, from what I hear, the end game is largely just farming currency.
Yeah, it's grind. You grind, and then you either buy or build, or in some cases, by just sheer luck, get your weapon or equipment you want to drop, which will let you fight the next boss, and so on like that.
But this is not like World of Warcraft grind. This is like mind-numbing, old school. You circle the field, killing everything in it in the fastest, most efficient way possible, and do this for
yeah
style.
Which normally would be a bad thing.
Yeah, this is why the combat is so important.
This is why the combat is so important and why the combat is so good. So, what am I doing here? I'm apparently got to bribe a fairy. Good times, bribing fairies. Please don't cart me off into your horrible fairyland and eat me. Ugh. So, yeah, I've picked up and just ended up maining on the wizard. I just like how the wizard works, and every now and again I can just sit back and pretend to be Mega Man if I want to. Who doesn't love a good explosion?
Explosion.
So yeah, I'll probably throw a few explosions around during the show. Actually, I need to find something nice and mindless to grind rather than doing proper quests. Also, you've got your Black Spirit, which is this guy here. He kind of evolves as you go along. At the moment, he's got these really weird baby legs, and it's kind of disturbing.
This guy does not strike me as anything other than villainous. Like, why do we trust him again?
You can't see it at the moment because of what's on the screen, but right now my Black Spirit is kind of this long-armed black wraith with the black cowl and shredded cloak and weird little baby legs.
What part of that does not sound villainous?
Oh, and red eyes, of course, and the big teeth. So yeah, he looks every part the villain, and yet somehow he never actually gets around to being the bad guy.
I don't trust him.
I don't think you should trust him.
He doesn't seem trustworthy to me.
I'm going to go beat up catfish people. That works. Catfish people work. Yeah, go away, weird, creepy baby leg monster.
Final Fantasy Cat.
So yeah, there is a few other things. It helps if you have some high-level friends, which in this case I did. You group up with them. You pop all the buffs and your dailies and all sorts of other little bits and pieces you can pick up very early in the game, just for experience buffs. And then you follow those people around for an hour while they do their daily quests. Suddenly, you're level 50.
The thing that I had trouble with was I couldn't learn the fighting system. Like, nothing survives for more than one hit early on in the game. And you cannot learn a damn thing.
Nope, it does not. So later on in the game, when things do start to get a bit tougher, you kind of relearn everything from scratch. And then once you get your awakening weapon, you start from scratch again anyway. So, whatever. I'm not entirely sure how the awakening weapon works. I haven't unlocked it yet. I've still got to get to level 56 to do that.
To me, I've heard people express opinions to the contrary, but I feel that the new player experience in Black Desert is just nothing short of completely appalling.
Yeah. To that end, though, they have released the Archer class, which actually starts with its awakening weapon. But in doing so, they've also revamped the new player experience to a degree. Like, a lot of the old quests are still there. It's like saying, here, you press R, this is how you walk, this is how you run, this is how you pick things up. But it actually introduces the story, instead of it just kind of appearing out of nowhere as it previously did. It still doesn't really say where the Black Spirit comes from, though. That's supposed to be something you uncover as you go along, but I still haven't done that. My character has regained some of his memories, but that didn't seem to change anything. Apparently, it just let me PvP if I want to.
You remembered the PvP option.
I remembered where the PvP button was. Boy. I have no idea what I'm actually doing here. Oh, right, that's right. I'm bribing fairies. So, what else did I do for my week? I kept chipping away at Monster Hunter Generations X, and I finished my Daimo Hermitor set. I am now the football man.
Football!
Football! Yeah, it's a football helmet with the shoulder pads. And, okay, from everything below that doesn't look particularly football-y, but that's enough.
Maybe Blood Bowl.
Actually, it is pretty Blood Bowl-y. Gotta love it. So, yeah. been fighting some giant enemy crabs and fought what is determinably not Deviljho. Not exactly sure what it is or what it's called, but the early Monster Hunter games did, and they did this every time, by the way. You run into one of the big name monsters early on in the quest. It would just pop up on some innocent quest. You're not supposed to fight it. You're not supposed to kill it because it will destroy you.
That sounds like a challenge.
That was a challenge. I fought this thing for half an hour before it finally killed me. And I don't think I even got it limping.
Can you? Like, is it technically possible, or has it got contractual immortality for plot reasons?
I think it might have contractual immortality. Sometimes they do turn up. You can fight them for a while and then they'll run away, like what they did with Nergigante. This beehive won't come down. So yeah. Fine. Explosion! This probably is overkill. This beehive just resists an explosion. I don't even. Where was I? So yeah. I got creamed by that horrible thing, and then I'm not sure what happened, but none of the NPCs want to talk about it anymore. Dear. So yeah, Generations. It's still very good, but good grief, it takes a lot of jumping back to get used to the old systems again. Like, I jumped in with Vol after last week's show and did a little bit of World, and I had to relearn everything again.
Yeah, it's you do retain certain skills, but there's a lot of nitty gritty about, oh yeah, now I remember why I shouldn't do that you have to learn again from the School of Hard Knocks.
Yes, they do love that School of Hard Knocks. Okay, I seem to have been thwarted by a beehive. Right. So that's mostly been my week. It hasn't been a particularly interesting one, unless you really want me to talk about demolishing an old fish pond this morning. I really rather not have done that. I'm trying to think. I haven't really even watched any anime, so Vol, your week, sir.
What do I have to talk about this week? I didn't do very much. I decided that I was going to play a bit of Monster Hunter back into it before the expansion comes out. Mainly because I wanted to assemble a set of serviceable gear that could, serve the purpose of being able to take on, generic Challenger X sort of thing. And my gear was pretty much a shambles when I stopped playing. Like, it was just, it was a range of things that didn't mesh together very well. Yeah, not really very helpful.
Not enough fire resist.
I never have fire resist.
Never enough fire resist.
Fire resist is for chumps. Other people, the real men take Teostra Supernova's face with like -16 fire resist or whatever.
Are you sure those are men and not corpses? They're trying to run back to the fight.
Well, they start off as men. They are men for a certain fraction of the process.
They're men afterwards, just extra crispy ones.
They're definitely man-shaped.
Yes.
Just maybe not man-coloured.
No.
There's a joke there.
Leave it.
But I'm just going to point it out so people know it's there and not say it.
This is neither the time nor the place.
It is actually the time for such...
Well, it's the time and the place for you, but...
yeah. Let's just
not for the rest of us.
Let's just leave it alone.
Yeah, before we get fired.
Again.
But, yeah, so I'm still having fun with it, though. I came right back to it, and it was immediately, re-immersed in my combination of sort of enjoyment and outrage. Because I'm always outraged at the latest thing that a monster has done to me. It seems to be where I live in this game. Because it's never fair, ever. It's always unfair. Always horribly, horribly unfair. But the monsters, they're not interested in being fair to me. They don't seem to even understand the concept. They just try and eat me all the time. But yeah, so my gear is miserable, so I wanted to get some more decoration. So considering everything about what drops from where and identifies into what with what frequency and that all of that stuff is completely opaque. Like there's no way of determining it except through brutal and lengthy experience. And my character's run out of breath and standing in the middle of getting carted. Yes.
Stop that.
I can't stop that. That Ligiana was trying to eat me.
Ligiana,
I had no breath. I'm trying to concentrate on doing the show while playing at the same time.
This
very,
never ends
very
well.
poorly. But yeah. So I'm trying to get decoration, and I'm not even trying to get rare one. So I figured that I'm just trying to get relatively common one because I'm putting together a sort of serviceable gimmick set that will tie me over through the various challenges to come, I hope. But that turned out not to be as easy as I thought, since I am getting plenty of the right rarity decoration, just none of right. So it's been a long and futile endeavor thus far. But since I'm enjoying playing it too much, and I do enjoy playing it more with other people, but not with random, since random people just want to go AFK and let you do all the work. But yeah, so that's where my gaming is largely right now. Party. There's always two party. Pink Wrath, both of them. Same time to deal with my fight. Just no courtesy these days.
Nope, not at all. They all learned
I'm
it
just
from Devil Show.
Waiting for Bagel Goose to show up. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing mainly for the bulk of my gaming at the moment. But for those few times that I have had lately where I can actually sit down and play, which have not been numerous. So I've been filling in the gaps, of course, with FGO as per normal, and that's been largely taken up by the current event, which is the Moon Goddess event rerun, which is notorious for having an incredibly crap story and incredibly crap quests, which are at least relatively easy at the stage. But it was more famous for when it was originally deployed, the most efficient quest was 5 AP one.
Mm-hmm.
So people lost their mind grinding the 5 AP one.
Because it's so boring.
It's like when it originally came out, people didn't have especially long AP bars and they didn't have a huge stock of apples to draw from. However, that's still a lot of grinding. A lot of grinding. At least you with tougher quests, you might need to pay a little bit of attention. But 5 AP one, no, it was pretty much a walk in the park. But you in. But this time they've tweaked the drop rate so that there's less of that issue, less of that that burden of having to constantly do the same old easy mode quest over and over again. But not that the current crop of quests are that difficult, because they just weren't back then when they originally came out. But it's something. Yeah, I've cleared out the special dumpling shop already.
Mm-hmm.
Take all that care long. And this event used the old paradigm where all of the copies of the event C5 were in the shop, but which I think they used up till about Kara no Kyokai and then stopped after that, or maybe I don't remember. No, they used it in the Fate Zero event as well, but in this particular one, they have an ever escalating cost for each additional copy, basically, and that's not cheap. It's not cheap at all, except for people like Ari who just get a gajillion drops and therefore wouldn't need to get them. But the event CE is unfortunately really crap, so it doesn't really matter that it's cheap. It sucks. But yeah, it's the main reason that this event is important is because there are pages.
You get them pages?
and there are never enough pages. I'm pretty sure everybody was excited for the pages more than anything else. And the hearts, I suppose, is a good amount of hearts if you're a person who still needs. But yeah.
You have a heart now. You're in Heart Hill too. You just don't know it yet.
I already have I think I've got 68 in the bank or something.
Let's see. Well, yeah, that's enough to cover his skills and his ascensions. They'll put about half of them out. Not quite half, actually, about a third.
Well, I'm not urgently trying to raise Hurt because I don't need him right now, as such. That might change in the future. But, yeah.
Yeah, actually, reading the story this time was pretty underwhelming after the Redux version I read that a guy did on the Reddit where he parodied the event and how Orion was acting and made it like, I forgot what it was. It was like she was having pregnancy cravings and that's why she decided to steal all your dumplings and rewrote all the dialogue for it. And for a little bit, I thought that was the real story. The first time it ran through.
There has been sillier in FGO.
But no, it's just kind of boring. The only notable thing is Sasuke Kirijo is at the Dragon Slayer meeting instead of Siegfried, and this is where the Regend meme comes from, because the first time it was launched, it's misspelled the name, his nickname Legend as Regend.
No, that's actually from his interlude, I think.
Oh, was it interlude?
His interlude has... The reason why the Legend of Samurai gag is in this event is because that was his interlude. It was called Legend of Samurai, except it was originally Regend of Samurai.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can respond to him in the event.
I think it's still in all caps, though, unlike all the other interludes.
Yeah. But, I just did it not too long ago, but I don't remember. But
can't remember whether I've done it or not. But yeah, so we're in sort of a lull period for FGO right now. There's not going to be any new content for a little while. The next one coming up is the Dante's event, which some people really like the story. I didn't do it last time because I didn't qualify, because you had to have cleared all of the story content to participate. But this time I'll be able to participate. But it is a difficult event. When I say it's a difficult event, I mean that. Yeah, that last quest does not merely look scary. It looks so difficult that I have not been able to think of a way to do it yet.
I decided not to try and plan for it until I can start mashing my face into it to get a better feel for how it goes. Because I get the feeling it won't matter.
The thing is, it doesn't have a gimmick. Like when it was Nerofest, you could plan around the gimmick. Once you understood what the gimmick was, you could devise a strategy to deal with it. In this case, they just basically throw you in the meat grinder and watch you grind up while they laugh, and that's pretty much what they do. So I don't know how I'm going to do this. I think that I will probably end up playing the long game and using a full stall team on it, because I know from experience that unless there's something that is going to screw me over with that strategy, because there are a few things that can. You can survive pretty much anything with a stall team. It'll take you 100 turns to finish the fight, but you can get there in the end. But yeah, that's how I beat several of the bosses in Babylonia that I just didn't have the servants to deal with, because my stable of servants it's better than it was, but it's still kind of narrow and underpowered. I don't have all these 5-star heavy hitters that Ari does. I've got to make do with 4 stars and below for the most part. I've got a couple of really good key players in the 5-star slot, but most of them are not really going to be enough on their own. So I adopted stall tactics for a few of the bosses which had high damage output, and it did work quite well. It just required me to take an eternity to kill anything. So that'll probably be my go-to for the tougher quest, because I've got some useful pieces for it. I think will work together quite well, particularly because I have a Tamamo and my mash is now maxed out. And pairing those two with, say, Guertoria gives you pretty decent turn-over-turn damage. You just need to have a solution for when you're fighting Lancers, and you'll be set. Unfortunately, I'm not a person who's fortunate enough to have Saberlot or any of those other similar ones to fill the niche with a different class. So it'll probably end up being a situation where I use Shiki and Squirtoria as the damage output. But yeah, that's mainly I'm probably going to have to face check that quest as well. Hopefully it's one of the ones that costs like 1 AP because it's so hard. That would be great.
It's 5. It costs 5 AP per attempt.
That's not too bad. That's not too bad. Is it when it's 40? That's not great.
No,
You're going to be
that's a
sitting
bit
around
much.
you're going to be sitting around for 2 or 3 minutes thinking about your turns on some of the rounds from the loops anyway, so you'll get your AP back.
Yeah, that's usually the case. With those really tough ones. But yeah, it was originally pitched to be a difficult event. Was around the time of E Pluribus Unum, either just before or just after, originally. So it's probably not going to be as tough as it was, but it's probably still going to kick my butt up and down till I work out how to do with it. But yeah, it's got a story that is quite well regarded, and especially when you're comparing it to things like the Moon Goddess event.
For it was early installment weirdness plus budget event, so
Yeah.
Well, it's not really just that, because it ranks like usually as like the second worst story in the game. One of those, Septim being the worst. Everybody
Septim's
hates
just
Septim,
awful.
except Nero fans. They love Septim since
It's not Nero.
Septim is basically about praising Nero every 5 minutes, much like Extella is. That's the main reason why most Fate fans don't like Extella, is that Nero basically gets filleted the entire time. Like, the entire thing is about how great Nero is and how Nero's going to be the hero in the end, and that they make Tamamo look really bad for no good reason.
Yeah.
But I think that game is really about Altera's story. Like, Altera's story is the only compelling one. Like, the ones for Nero are just about praising Nero, and the ones for Tamamo are basically about making her look as bad as possible for bad reasons. But the Altera story is really, really good. So
Yeah.
I consider Extella to be the game about Altera, not the game about Nero. But Nero is conspicuously the center of attention all the time, which I'm sure would please her greatly.
It certainly would make the character... Well, that's basically her whole shtick, at least.
Yeah. But what else did I do? Have I watched any new anime? On the note of anime, though, there's been a bit of hoo-ha. Not very much, just enough that you can tell that it's there, because Crunchyroll has done their usual thing that they always do, their anime awards thing.
Oh, God. What did they ruin this time?
It's been, a lot of people have felt that it was super conspicuous, that it was just agenda pushing, because they took anything that could be construed as LGBT, whether it was yaoi or whether it was some faint implication or whether it was whatever, and they bumped those into the nominee category, even if they were like riotously unpopular. And things that they didn't like that were popular, like Goblin Slayer, just disappeared.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So the entire thing was like, your choices exist. The only choices that exist are the ones that suit us. Like, they weren't even trying to hide it. It was really, really abysmal.
Yeah.
I don't understand how everybody's so enamored of this being woke. It makes you look like a complete turd.
They don't seem to realise it, though.
because they live in an area of the world where everybody praises them for it.
But the thing is, Crunchyroll can't be making very much money.
I don't know. I have no idea what their metrics are like.
Yeah,
but they spam YouTube videos with ads. Every single person on YouTube is a sponsor for them.
But that's no. They are a sponsor for every single person on YouTube. It's the other way around. They are sponsoring YouTubers. But you see, the thing is that when you sponsor somebody, it means you're coughing up dough.
Yeah, they hand out free trials like candy too. Yeah,
I'm not quite sure where all that dough is coming from, because even when people are subscribed, like they don't pay very much.
It's because the wonky setup they have. You remember, like, it's like a video game refer a friend thing they have going on with everybody on YouTube, where anybody can set up a refer a friend account with Crunchyroll, and as long as they punch in your code when they first make their account and press the pay button with their credit card, you get like $3 of the 15 they get.
I don't know. Maybe they do just have an enormous subscriber base, but generally their site is pretty crap and their apps are even crapper. So,
what about all those people who are watching for free? Ari.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not my fault. I unsubscribed from them. They just don't want to cancel my account.
Yeah, that's their own fault.
They need to clean up their act, but yeah. So far from watching the various shows this season, it's another season that feels a lot like last season, in that there's really nothing much good.
Yeah, one or two interesting bits here and there, but by and large, it's kind of.
I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it's just that I still get most of my anime through Crunchyroll, so I only see the things that they've got licensed. I haven't checked out any of the others yet. It's just most of the stuff is so banal.
Yeah.
Maybe the industry is just going through a lull period and they're not producing anything great right now. Maybe
that's certainly part of it.
Most of what I'm continuing to enjoy, I just continue. And that's I've watched a bunch of them, but they're just not good. They're not something that I would recommend to anybody.
Yeah,
there's nothing there that I would recommend.
One friend recommended My Roommate Is a Cat.
I haven't watched that one because it looks incredibly bland.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe it's not, but it does look incredibly bland to me.
Yeah.
See any
I think I'll just stick with Shield Hero. I need to watch that. I want to watch it partly because it actually seems like a decent isekai, and partly because it makes the Outrage Squad angry. That's always a plus.
It's nothing remarkable. It's different attitude as a little bit interesting, if only because it's not the same as all the others.
Yeah.
The fact that he's in an isekai setting. It's just that he has no capacity for attacking whatsoever,
and the world hates him.
Yeah, and the world hates him quite literally.
Yes,
not figuratively. Literally, everybody in the world thinks that he's evil because he's framed the moment he lands. But yeah, so I'm probably going to have to trawl through a bunch of stuff which is streaming on other services, because stuff on Crunchyroll is well, it's not even bad as to if it was bad, then that would mean that it was worth checking out to see how it's bad.
Yep.
But it doesn't reach that level. It's just I get that thing. Maybe there's some of them that were really though.
Yeah, there was one actually you recommended last week, which I went and tried to watch.
I didn't recommend it. I just commented.
Well, commented on it then. I tried to watch it. I watched the intro and probably fell asleep. So, yeah.
Is that because you were really tired or because it was boring?
Bit of A, bit of B.
But yeah, one of the ones that I talked to Fern about was a show called Endro, and the only thing that's remarkable about it is that it is Crunchyroll's High Guardian Spice.
Yes.
Except that it's actually out, unlike High Guardian Spice. So yeah, lunch stolen before finished.
Yeah, it's even got the same color palette.
Yeah, the color palette is the same. Characters are apart from making characters arbitrarily brown for no reason. The premise is identical, and the layout of the characters is identical, except it's actually got a gimmick that's kind of amusing in it. Interesting, and that like the girls are the 5 heroes or whatever. No, there's four heroes then. But they fight the evil demon king. But when they try and use their ultimate spell, they screw it up, and the timeline just dials back. Except that the demon lord gets disempowered in the past. And so she joins the Hero Academy as a teacher to try and find a way to undermine the education of the 4 heroines before they can get strong enough to defeat her. And pretty much fails miserably at it. But, yeah.
Yeah.
it's not great. It's not great by any stretch of the imagination. It's still on that sort of like, you can watch, but it's not worth recommending level. I just thought it was amusing because it is so close to what Crunchyroll are trying to do with their so-called original, so-called anime. That
yeah, it's got absolutely nothing to do with anime.
But yeah, I just like the idea that they are streaming something which is basically stealing their lunch.
Yes,
I'm entertained by it, but yeah, I'm getting I keep putting off unsubscribing from Crunchyroll. Well, historically I have, but I'll probably make this the last season that I use it because I'm getting bit more and more often by the region thing.
Yeah, that pops up
like the number
annoyingly often.
The number of shows that I can see this season compared to last season is about half. Oh, not last season, the first season that I was using Crunchyroll was about half.
Yeah.
Because there was like one or two when I started using Crunchyroll that I couldn't see. Now it's like, it's like half of the shows they stream. I just, they're invisible to me because region.
Yep.
It's a pain in the neck too because it used to be for Australasia. Originally there were 3 companies in the Australasia region: Madman, Tokyo Night Train, and Hanabi. Tokyo Night Train went out of business after a really short amount of time.
Yes.
And Hanabi is not gone out of business, but they basically spend all of their time shelling Ruby and pretty much nothing else.
Yeah, they're basically Rooster Teeth the shop now.
Yeah, so they've devolved into complete uselessness, even though they're still nominally a localizer, which leaves only Madman.
And now I am glad my friend who works, who contracts for Hanabi isn't listening to the show.
And the problem is now that anything that Madman runs out of money in the budget to license just doesn't ever make it to Australasia.
Yeah. And
buying Blu-rays was like my major method of supporting franchises.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've tried. Like, I have the expensive entirety of Fate Zero on Blu-ray, and I have the first 2 seasons of Prisma Ilia on Blu-ray, and so on and so forth. But I can't throw any more money at it. Like, I haven't bought Unlimited Blade Works because Hanabi localized half of the series. Just half.
For a moment there, I thought you wanted to buy the Unlimited Blade Works movie. Don't do that.
I'm talking about the series. I might eventually because
oh, good grief, why? Just for completion's sake?
Yeah, for completion's sake.
Yeah,
but
okay.
Because I've got all of the DVDs of Studio Dean's Fate Stay Night. I bought those as they came out.
Nice.
Like a DVD every couple months or whatever when they released another one, because they used to release them serially way back in the day, one at a time. Now they release everything as box. But they released that one serially back in the day, and I bought them as they came out from the local games store. But yeah, and now I'm in the situation where Hanabi licensed Unlimited Blade Works. They localized half of it and stopped.
Yep.
So there's no way my OCD will permit me to buy half of a series.
This is why region locking is dumb, kids.
Yeah, don't region lock.
Drive me up the wall. I can't even thinking about it makes me feel uncomfortable. The fact that something that I'm so fond of has like a half localized series, and that the other half will probably never be localized because it's in licensing hell. Yep. Because Hanabi are more interested in Rooster Teeth bucks than anything else.
Oh, the Rooster Teeth money.
I don't even understand what it is that makes Rooster Teeth so popular.
Yeah.
Right place, right time. Everybody there's an idiot.
Yeah, it's like, it just seems like a bunch of dorks being dorks most of
it. Dorks being dorks isn't inherently bad, but don't make it.
Anybody can do that.
Spot.
We're doing it. Kind of.
They just happen to be in the right spot at the right time with the right equipment and with the right projects twice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they got rolling.
Yeah, I mean that if they never had Monty, I think that they would have gone out of existence at that point.
Oh yeah, Red vs. Blue would be a backwater net series that is still ongoing that we talk about. Remember when it used to be good, like once every 3 years, if that.
Remember when
Is Red vs. Blue
Blue
still running?
Is Red
Is
vs.
Red
Blue
vs. Blue
good?
still running?
Yeah, it was for a while. I stopped following it after Monty died.
That show got bad when it got a budget.
It was.
That
it was
sounded
fine.
incredibly hipster.
Monty's fight scenes were always fun to watch, even if they
yeah.
were in Red vs. Blue. So I was fine watching it. Their story was whatever, but
Yeah, I think that like amongst the Rooster Teeth people, Monty was the one who had a real
Talent.
prodigious talent.
Mm.
Like you need to have one of those people for justifiable success. Otherwise, it's luck. And I don't really see what's so great about Rooster Teeth, other than they had Monty once upon a time, and he was able to produce incredible art.
Each of their 3 departments had one decent guy in it, and they're all gone now except for Gavin Free, and he's not good. Exactly, he was the weakest of their big 3 heavy hitters, in terms of people who have been successful outside of Rooster Teeth.
But yeah, I don't know what the particulars are of Hanabi's connection to Rooster Teeth, but they appear to have become the Rooster Teeth store, which is pain in the neck because I want Unlimited Blade Works to finish getting localized. I don't know if they just licensed half of it because the series was divided in a little bit more sharply than a standard 2 core anime is, but I don't know whether what the deal is with the license now, and that really frustrates me a great deal. But yeah, so that's the sort of part of why I'm warming a little bit to spending money on FGO, is simply because I can't support the franchise any other. It's my pet franchise, but I can't even buy the DVDs.
I just wish their exchange rates weren't so abysmally terrible.
Yeah, but the thing is that there are enough people who month over month buy those packages of quartz. But I don't think that they would actually, like, when I thought long and hard about it, and I'm not convinced that they would actually make more money if they lowered their prices. I think that their pool of whales is large enough that they're probably close to the right spot.
Yeah, the only way they might change the prices and throw us a bone is if they do some internal brain trusting and decide that they've thought up a way to get the whales to spend even more money by making the prices cheaper overall.
But the thing is,
the only hope we got.
The thing is that the big spending comes from the Leviathan class, and they will always spend as much as needed to get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've got people at that level, you can charge anything because they don't have an upper limit.
As dedicated as Fate fans.
Yeah. Most Fate fans are pretty crazy.
Oh my yes.
But
the
yeah,
whole
so
universe is set up to keep digging deeper and get invested in it. So
well, yeah. The thing is that it's a series that breeds investment, and it's a game archetype that exploits addictive personality. So when you combine those two things together, you've got a dangerous mixture.
Mm-hmm.
But
and then throw waifus on top.
Yeah, just add a bit of waifu power in there.
I was okay with occasional dolphining, although I might be up to at least killer whale size or whatever the smallest whale is with Dante's, because Dupalupa Artist is there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty disenfranchised with this season's. Really, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's just a sense of like apathy towards anime nowadays.
Yeah, I don't have apathy towards anime, like, because I still spend exactly the same amount of time watching anime now. Adjusting for the amount of free time I have, I spend exactly the amount of time watching anime now as I did at my peak. It's just that I watch old stuff that I like.
Yeah.
Like I for whatever reason, I think that Girls und Panzer is the best sports anime ever made, despite the fact it's about tanks. And I'm on like my 4th watch of it now because I just enjoy it.
It's so silly.
So I'm more willing to watch a series that I've seen fully 3 times through its entirety in the past than I am to watch a lot of this new stuff.
I'll admit I have started watching more, going back to watch Food Wars again.
I'm partway through my second watch through of Apocrypha as well.
Nice.
Because I always have a Fate series on the go. Always. When Apocrypha's done, I'll rotate back around to Fate Zero probably, and then I'll probably go through Unlimited Blade Works again, and then it'll be back to Prisma Ilia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope that they continue doing the Prism Ilia. The thing is, I really, really, really want to see Oath by Snow, but I would like to buy it legit, but I don't think anybody's ever going to localize it. But it was one of the coolest side chapters in the Fate franchise, because it's the natural extension to Fate Stay Night, where Shiro goes a step further in his sort of like abandon everything quest than he does in Heaven's Feel. Like, it's the logical progression from Heaven's Feel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really important addition, because this is the Shiro who did not merely rate one person's life above the lives of others, but was willing to discard the entire planet into the abyss to save one person. Like, this is the Shiro that it's the Shiro that if he goes bad, he becomes Emiya Alter, basically.
Mm.
Like, it's the darkest timeline by far. Like, it's a timeline that is basically what's going on in the outside world at the same time that Fate Extra is happening on the Moon Cell. Like, the world is basically scorched beyond recognition. There's nothing left except in the case of the Miuverse, as it is referred, it's snow instead of desert, which is what it's desert in Fate Extra. It's snow in the Miuverse. It's just a difference between extreme global warming and nuclear winter. Neither of them is great, but
No.
but yeah, that movie is supposedly good, but you know, it's never. No, however, I mean, I'm not sure that it'll never get localized, because the Irregular Magic High School movie got and been released in Australasia just recently, and nobody but me likes that series. So yeah, I have all of those on Blu-ray as well. So yeah, not all hope is lost, except that we're leaning on Madman alone now, and monopolies are never healthy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hoping that there will be some other licensor will appear at some point in the near future, so I can get back to throwing money at them. My money is waiting to be thrown. I don't know why nobody seems to want it. Anyway, I'll leave my week there.
All right.
Okay. What are we at? Not quite in an hour. Do we want to do the break now, or do we want to just keep going?
You got Christmas stuff to do, don't you?
I've got 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah,
stuff, but
it's been weeks since you were here last, so
Yeah,
you've got a lot of ground to cover.
All right.
I missed a whole extra week, but unfortunately, I'm not sure how much time I can fill with it. We'll see.
We'll see.
So let's go to a break and see where it goes. We'll be right back.
Yes. Strange medical issues aside.
Yeah.
You don't want to know what goes on behind the break wall here.
Well,
Don't
yeah,
say
they
it
do
like
because we keep teasing it.
It's never good, though. It's always something really weird and disturbing.
Not that disturbing. But anyway, we were at the end of Vaults Week, I think. You got anything else?
Nope.
Alrighty. How do I want to do this? I got 3 weeks to somehow talk about, which is harder than it sounds. You would think there's just, pick anything from those 3 weeks to talk about. But while a lot of stuff, in air quotes, happened, a whole lot of nothing happened with all that stuff. Like, essentially it boils down to, I've been really, really busy. So much so, there's been, like, multiple days in a row, I just haven't even had time to get on Discord. It's been so bad.
Yes. And we sort of saw a little window of what the shenanigans you've been putting up with last week, which is part of the reason why you went on the show last week.
Yeah. So, for those that... The reason my luck is significant is because it is not so much luck, it's just...
Oh.
Did I just lose my connection?
Pickle?
No. Pickle, there he is. Something just went
dear.
horrible wrong there.
I got... yeah, we all got horribly
It's gone
decent.
back to doing... Check your Discord settings, because it's gone back to doing what it used to.
I haven't changed anything.
It's got that weird... No, it's actually probably just your connection. It's got that weird little twang to when
Dang
it's
it.
trying to
This-
decide what the next sound is supposed to be, but can't anticipate it based on the incoming data.
Give me a sec.
Uh,
Sometimes that fixes
one of the things that happened while Ari was away is his internet sucked.
So yeah, the
More than
first
usual.
major... So, we'll go backwards in the timeline. The first major event for why I wasn't here last week was my ISP just took a dump on the bed. Somebody fat sat on something at the office or something, and all of North Georgia lost internet in pretty much everywhere that was north of Atlanta for if you use Comcast internet.
So are your choices Comcast and Comcast, or
Comcast and AT&T.
Ooh.
are they as bad as each other?
Yes.
Yeah. So would you like to be punched on the left side of your face or the right side of your face?
AT&T is actually worse in my opinion. Just
dear.
because they have not as significant problems when they do happen, but more of them. And they're more, thus, them being more sporadic throughout the year. But when Comcast messes up, they mess up bad.
Yes.
As was happened last week with like over 48 hours no internet. Yeah, I was posting through my phone and my tablet, leeching off my phone's mobile hotspot to post on the Discord that my internet was dead. So yeah. So yeah, that was that's what happened there, and that's why I wasn't here. And in addition to that, we had people in my family getting sick. Everybody got sick. The dog got sick. My dad got sick. My sister got sick. My mother's sick. I'm the only person with 2 legs that can move around at the moment that is not sick. So I have been busy with housework and making sure everybody's got everything they need all day long because none of them can move. Either because they injured something or they're sick.
My mother hurt her knee, and your dad did it week before she.
Yeah, you just cut most of that.
Oh, Pickle? Was
Pickle?
it him or me?
No, I think that was him that
probably
time.
me. Yeah, it was
Okay.
me this time. Yeah, my mother hurt her leg in the exact same way that your father did, and it was weeks before she was able to walk again on her properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is attempting unsuccessfully to maneuver around with crutches.
Does he know that he's probably going to hurt himself even worse and need to go back into surgery if he tries to move around too much?
I've told him that 30 times, and I've also followed that statement up with, I know you're not going to listen to me, but I think it's something I need to tell you anyway. You need to stop. Go lay down. But he is trying to maneuver with that thing awkwardly swung up in the air, not touching the ground at all with crutches.
Good
I'm like,
grief.
this is not going to work, dude. I'll take the trash out. Don't worry about it. I'll clean the dishes. Just go lay back down in bed. So yeah,
Get him
life's been fun.
Rent him a wheelchair so he can get around there.
we have various sittable, mobile, wheelchair-ish devices around the house. He just refuses to use any of them.
Well, it's not dignified enough for him.
It'd be declaring weakness.
No, I think it's just slower because he has to fold them out and get in stuff, and he just doesn't like them. He just wants to grab the crutches and try and hop his way around the house.
Oh boy.
Yeah, my mother came down to Christchurch for my PhD graduation in her state of not being able to walk, and it was painful just watch her try and get around, shuffling one tiny half step at a crutches.
Yeah. Getting him in the car was the hardest part.
Mainly because he didn't want to go.
Well, that part was he should have gone a date before he went, but yeah, once we finally got him in the car, the hard part was the seat would not slide back far enough. He insisted on taking his car. This was as far as I could get him to go, and I just wanted him to get to the hospital at that point. The hard part was, in his car, he's got this little 2-door convertible, and the seat doesn't remove and does not slide back far enough for him to fit his whole leg in that car when it's stretched out straight.
Oh yes, it's a convertible. They're not designed for convenience.
Or comfort, really.
Yeah, it was his midlife crisis car. So
Are you allowed to call it that to his face?
yes, I have.
Okay. Some people get very sensitive about that.
Yeah. I think he called it that himself before I did. So, yeah, we had to figure out how to make pulleys out of shirts and junk and whatever spherical stuff we could find to hold his leg and carefully lift it while we pushed it gently into the car, because he could not bend it, and touching it at all hurt. And for Mr. Tough Out, a broken arm, he was wincing whenever he moved that leg.
Does he realize that he is aging and needs to be more careful?
And
yeah.
Certainly not quite so stubborn.
Oh no, that's never going away. No, that ain't happening. But
just not happening.
Yeah, it's gotten worse because every time he breaks something and can't move around, he's a natural control freak and he knows it. But he will start micromanaging everybody on instinct. He'll start telling them when the dog needs walking, even though there's literally a schedule on the counter that says when the dog was last walked, and it's consistently 3 to 4 hours between walks. With nobody telling him anything, he still feels the need to remind people. Or to stop the car while he's the passenger in the car while the other person's driving, while they're stopping the car at the traffic light as it's coming up with their foot already on the brake as he's saying it.
Oh, I hate people who do that.
Yeah.
I've kicked people out of the car for that.
Yeah, no.
It is
I
the
can't
single
do that.
most obnoxious thing you could possibly do.
I am one tier too far down on the family hierarchy to be able to do that to him, so...
Yeah.
Dealing with my father has been fun. By fun, I mean a time-consuming nightmare. But it's what it is. I'm not too... I can't really...
It's still family.
Angry.
Well, I mean, he was taking care of you when you're a little douchebag, so...
Yeah.
You can put up with a little bit of stubbornness, I think.
Yeah, I'll cart him around while he's doped up on painkillers and losing his mind. It'll be fine. So, that should be taken care of soon. So we continue further back in the timeline. That's why I wasn't here last week, because that was going on, plus the internet was gone. So I did not have time to engineer a workaround or move computers or anything, because I was busy running to and from the hospital. Although I'll end it by saying the most absurd request he had while I was at home already and had been home for 2 hours thinking I'd finally get to sit down for a little bit, play some Vidya or something, was to bring him a hairdryer.
What?
He apparently thought he was going to get out of that bed with his leg hurting and do his hair in the morning. And I can't say no because I'm the kid. That was a thing. So we continue further back the timeline. Before that, work shenanigans happened. I wound up. I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say about it because a bunch of highly illegal stuff happened. And at the end of the day, I wound up with twice the responsibilities at work that I had the day before.
Fun.
And so I am currently adjusting to it and trying to figure out a way to do it efficiently. And it can be done in an efficient way. I'm starting to figure it out, but it's a mess. So there is an adjustment period I didn't foresee coming that just kind of fell in my lap. That I've had to go through the entire week before the shenanigans with my dad in the hospital and the internet exploding. So during this time, I have poked at Yakuza 0. We'll talk about all the media later. We'll go through the weeks. Before that was the week of New Year's and the week after Christmas. Not a whole lot happened. It was just Christmas and New Year's. Nothing significant at all. It was just normal stuff. But okay, so now the part that y'all actually care about, instead of me ranting about real life stuff, the little bit of media that I consumed during all this while it's been going on. I thought I would have more for y'all coming back. I intended to try and finish at least a few games and, you know, maybe watch a few shows. None of that happened. We finished one video game. Well, 3 video games and 1 video game that I had played at least 10 times in the past each when I was a kid, so I already knew all the maps. That is the only game that got completed during this, while this was going on. So the first piece of media is the Spyro trilogy.
Ah, yes.
So the games themselves are... the level of improvement in each game is not consistent. I think that's the safest way to put my criticisms towards the game. So I'm going to be a little harsh on particularly one of these games, but it's because it was my favorite of the 3 in the original trilogy, but it's by far the worst one in the remastered trilogy. And the reason for that is one of the games was outsourced.
Why would they do that?
It works.
Cheap.
Well,
yeah, they ran out of time. They promised Spyro by the end of the year, like dum-dums, and did not have time to finish the 3rd game, is what happened.
Oh, Activision.
So, Spyro 1 and 2 are perfectly fine, good remasters, good vidya. Spyro 3, on a surface level, is good vidya, but it's got a ton of technical problems. Like, soft locking glitches all over the place. I got soft locked 3 times playing.
Ew.
And I got memory leaked to death twice from chain restarting a really hard minigame.
Oh dear.
So, yeah. The first 2 games are perfectly fine. If you played the old Spyro, there's plenty of information on what those games are like you can go dig up. If that's enough to sell you on buying the remastered trilogy, go for it. Those 2 are fine, especially Spyro 2, where they've improved the AI of the bosses, so you have to do more than run in a circle while they're attacking and then shoot them with something. Because you could beat them before by just never stopping moving. They did not have such thing as leading the player with their shots in the 3D environment in the earliest ages of 3D polygonal gaming.
No, they did not.
They have given it to them in Spyro 2 in the remake. Notably, Spyro 3 did not have that either in the original trilogy, and the remake also does not have that in the trilogy, because it was outsourced. So, you will notice a sharp decline in the boss quality between 2 and 3.
Oh,
so,
dear.
So yeah, the specifics of Spyro, if you like collectathons, they're fine, they're great. They still hold up just fine as video games. The maps in the first game are a little jank, but that's just, you know, they're old, and they're the exact same map, just made prettier. So they take a little bit of finagling your brain, but they've done pretty okay with touching up the art assets. My only complaint is the green gems on green grass could use a drop shadow that's a bit darker, so you can actually see them. But thankfully, Sparks now points you to gems that you haven't picked up in every map in all 3 games, instead of just it being his final upgrade in the 3rd game.
Oh, good.
He now can do it in all 3 games from the get-go.
Good.
You can now also... The other upgrade he had that was significant, the ability to warp to any level from any level, has also been retroactively applied to all 3 games from the very beginning. As soon as you've entered a world, it goes into your atlas, and you can warp to it whenever you want. You don't have to go back to the overworld and enter 3 extra loading screens plus running across the map. You can just warp straight back to the other level you want to go back and complete. So, all that stuff is wonderful. Spyro 3 has problems, though. The first one is the trophies have a few issues. Before you enter a level with any of the trophies on psnprofiles.com that says this trophy has some shoes, or it's bugged, or we don't know what causes the trigger to fail sometime. Make a save before you even go into that level. Back that save up to your cloud, and then turn off auto updates so that you don't upload any new save data until you get in that level and see that trophy pop.
Right.
Because if you don't get it, it borks for the whole save file permanently. And this is on at least 4 levels, where there is just weird stuff that can cause it not to trigger. I got one of them break, and I'm glad I knew about it beforehand, because I would have been very mad if I couldn't play the game because of trophy bug.
Remember the days when console games would just work?
Yeah. The other problem is there's one level in the water world, Lost Fleet, which was never a great level to begin with, but for some reason, it has a serious memory leak problem from all the particle effects going off on the map. And what this means is there's a skateboarding minigame in that level that's really hard, right? If you're not used to Tony Hawk, or you're not you don't know how to do it from playing the Spyro games before. I had to restart it a bunch of times and was just restarting it to get the high score, which you don't need for Platy, but I wanted it anyway. So I was trying to get it, and I was chain restarting the skateboarding minigame, and eventually I started noticing my game was getting slower and slower and slower until it got to a point where it took 1 second, 5 seconds to pass on the screen. I'm like, okay, we'll just leave the level, because I was just curious at that point to see how bad it would get.
How bad did it get?
I gave up at 1 second taking 5 seconds in real time on the clock.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, here's the kicker though. No matter what, once you finish that level, you need to save your game and turn it off and turn it back on again as soon as you leave that stage. Because leaving the level does not fix the memory leak. Going through a loading screen doesn't fix it. It persists even into the overworld and into other maps until you turn the game off.
Good grief. Do you think did anyone actually test that?
That was the worst offender. There was one more that self-corrected itself on one of the flying levels. But yeah. So yeah. Now I'm being really negative about it, but Spyro 3 has problems that need to be known that nobody's really talking about. And I criticize it because I really like the original. I like Spyro 3 a lot, OG Spyro 3. And I can safely say, with all the tech issues and various other minor problems, like you just can't get to the egg right now because the dude you need to freeze is not jumping down. If I hadn't played the games before, I wouldn't have known he was stuck up there, and I'd be running around for hours trying to figure out how to get on top of a tower. Like, there's weird stuff like this that just happens all throughout Spyro 3. So, if you're going to play Spyro 3, I just played it like 2 or 3 years ago again, in a full replay, in like a day and a half. It still holds up just fine. Just go get the PS1 version. There's nothing wrong with it. But Spyro 1 and 2 are massively improved and worth it for the price alone, I think. They have none of the issues that 3 does.
Alright, well, they did 2 games properly.
Yep. So I'm dragging the media bit out because I got 3 weeks with nothing in them. So
I'm just thinking it's sad that that's actually above the curve for Activision.
It was Toys for Bob that developed it. Did Activision publish it? They must have, because they own Skylanders, right? Or they publish Skylanders?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I forget who publishes what these days. Especially after the Great Hold My Beer-a-thon.
That's still going!
I know. We'll get to it in a little bit.
Oh, boy.
So, after Spyro, the aforementioned shenanigans started. So, I could not play anything that required active play and concentration. I mean, yeah. So, I was stuck trying to find something to play that wouldn't require me to chain play it and be actively paying attention. And Yakuza 0 is perfect for that, because this is a game of mini-games that are all just checkboxes for days. And a lot of them play themselves. So, it has been a wonderful thing to play through this, and most of them have no time limit on anything, so you can pause it, walk away, or just leave it sitting if you need to. I can stand there holding that bowling ball in that bowling hour for 5 hours till my my PS4 goes into sleep mode, and then it'll put me right back when I turn it back on again. It has been a perfect game for the shenanigans that have been going on. And I am loving this game to death. There's a whole lot of jank about this game that I'll go into once I actually finish it, which may or may not be sometime this century. At the rate things are going, because there's always a new minigame to play. This is the way Yakuza 0, especially 0, I've heard. But yeah, it just is. You walk down the street, there's a bowling alley with a fully functional bowling game in it. You walk down the street a little further, there's a pocket racing stadium with a fully functioning pocket racing game in it with like 800 items of customization, and every single one of them is relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to become MLG at Mahjong? There's a whole Mahjong parlor over there with a billion puzzles in there. Like, I do wish they'd have translated the Japanese numbers into English numbers on the tiles, though.
Blah.
That makes it quite hard. That makes it quite hard to read sometimes because I don't know the Japanese kanji for numbers. What else was there? Like, you want to go get a cabaret club and run in a full like management simulator of what came before host clubs? Go for it. It's fully fleshed out. You want to do real estate simulator? That's there too.
Good grief.
And it's all done in what is the traditional Yakuza way, with a really serious storyline that somehow manages to somehow remain seriously dramatic and impactful, while still having stuff happen. Like, if you bowl a turkey at the bowling alley, you get a turkey, a literal turkey, that turns out to be a chicken that you can then take to that real estate company I mentioned and make it a manager.
What?
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? I mean, yeah.
It's not a very good manager, but you can make him one.
Apparently,
I don't know. Like, I mean, based on some of the property managers that I've had in the past,
it's
like,
been an improvement.
The bar is not very high.
He is not the worst manager. He is somewhere in the middle of the pack.
What really worries me is this same team apparently did a Fist of the North Star game. Which is basically Yakuza set in the Fist of the North Star universe.
Yeah.
Complete with bartending minigame for reasons.
You are already drunk.
You are already drunk. And
But
it's
yeah,
pink and sparkly when it says that.
Oh, dear. Yeah. I just really want to play through the main story of Yakuza. Like, I'm having so much fun with this game and all the ridiculous shenanigans that go on. It is just, like, I knew I would like it a lot. I just wish I had time to sit down and play the main story instead of having to ping pong from minigame to minigame, because I don't really have enough hours to sit down by myself and just enjoy me time playing video games right now. I just haven't got my current responsibilities in life in order to a point where I can do that this second, and it's driving me nuts.
Yeah.
I will get there eventually. I always do. Whenever something ridiculous happens and I wind up with more stuff on my plate. And I find a way to organize it so that I get free time if it kills me. But I just haven't got there yet. I need to get more ducks in a row. So it's very frustrating because I really want to just sit down and play this vidya, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah. The moral of the story, kids, is just stop in college and never leave.
No, please don't do that.
If they don't come out, we don't have to deal with them.
Yeah, but they'll take out loans to continue supporting their lifestyle.
That just continues to be a burden.
And then they'll become a burden on taxation.
Yeah. Oh, man. So, yeah. I will eventually have more media to talk to you about. I'm holding off on talking about Yakuza until I can get a better, feel for the game. Although I've got way more completion points than anybody should reasonably have within, a week's of play time, because presumably they would be actually playing the story and not running around from minigame to minigame.
No, I think that a lot of people probably play it like that.
Yeah, I think you got a pretty good handle on it.
Yeah. So, but I just don't have a good enough feel for the actual main game itself. I think
that it's criminal, no pun intended. People rate GTA as the important game in that genre.
Yeah.
Well, it almost feels like a totally different genre than GTA. GTA is just kind of
Well,
like a toy.
The problem with
sandbox?
GTA is that GTA is Yakuza that never reached potentials. It's just empty.
Yeah,
That's the real problem with GTA is that there's nothing in it.
Yeah, what Yakuza does that makes it stand out from GTA, makes it feel like a totally different game is, A, you can't do anything you want. You're not a force of nature that destroys everything and gets away with it. You're a Yakuza or an ex-Yakuza or somehow related to a criminal organization that does not kill people, at least in the open. Like, period.
The other pirates who don't do anything.
Yeah, ironically, by placing the limitation on you, it focuses you and gives you more drive to do the stuff that is in front of your face. By cutting off the sandbox at a point, instead of saying, here's everything, it gives you a load of stuff to do in front of you and points you in the direction of all that stuff. And that's why it's so easy to get addicted into playing all the minigames, is because it naturally moves you in a direction towards where playing those minigames will help you in every single aspect of the game. And they're all fairly fun to play. And the game directs you towards playing instead of just wandering around, stealing cars and running over hookers. Like, it's just a better game experience. It feels like a video game and not a toy. Like, I'm working towards objectives Yakuza. If I play GTA, I'm messing around in a sandbox.
Yeah.
As a related, it bothered me the entire way through Berserk. No piracy to take place.
Oh, you're on a pirate ship with no pirates?
Yeah. And nobody did anything remotely piratical.
Yeah.
Well, Aiza's still figuring it out. He's not used to being able to be seen by dudes.
Magulu's hat is suitably flamboyant. I guess that's something.
I guess like hats, like that the most piracy that you can manage is to have a large hat. Then
in this game, yes.
Because I'm pretty sure that Aizen thinks that he's the leader of an archaeology crew, not a piracy.
They're totally archaeologists, honest.
I'm pretty sure that's kind of supposed to be the joke, because he's bad at actual pirating.
That kind of defuses the drama of his subplot about being too ashamed to tell his sister what he does.
I don't know. I haven't thought too much about Bersuria's connections to Zestiria not making sense because they already retcon a good chunk of it. So I haven't thought very much about it.
On a note related to that related note, I face checked the fight with Phoenix at about level 51. It took me an eternity to complete. Do you remember that? Phoenix.
Oh, right. Don't do that. He's going to kill you.
Yeah. That was rough. It took me a very long time to beat him. I beat him in the end, but since I was only level 51, it took a very long time.
I was underleveled when I fought him too, but I had a different problem. I was trying to platy the game, and one of the trophies for that game requires you to see every mystic art in the game, including enemy. And whether he does the Rising of the Phoenix mystic art is partially up to RNG.
I'm fairly sure I saw it.
Ew.
So you had to keep resetting the fight because he would not do it. This also means the boss in Cat's Corner, you have to give him all of your entire inventory of items. Because his Mystic Art removes all of them. Everything. All of it.
That's inconvenient.
Every healing item you have saved up, all those full heals you got from chests and stuff, gone.
Can you just load game afterwards?
You can, yes. But it would have to be the last Mystic Art you would have needed to have seen.
I took Phoenix's Mystic Arts on the chin a good 8 or 9 times. That fight took me a very, very long time.
For I am the Phoenix! And the little Norman skyrockets into the air. Because that's what he does. Yeah, for those...
Is he in Zestiria at all? Or is he new to Berseria?
I think he was in Zestiria. and I think he was a boss there too as well. The Turtles boss, the other one of the other super bosses, is back from. Oh, where did he show up? Grace's, I think. But yeah, you can fight him again.
Yeah, I saw that in the Mystic Art compilation. Because I didn't see most of the Mystic Arts because I couldn't even work out how to use them because the combat system in Berseria is so convoluted and there's no manual.
It really would have made things a lot easier if they had distinguished between the hit counter and the number of times you have to tap the button, which the game does not do. You need somebody to tell you that is not distinguished to start understanding what's wrong with the interface and how it words stuff. And the only reason I figured it out was by accident.
A lot of those later features, they just don't appear at all in the manual. Like if you go and look at the encyclopedia of how to play, after the first hour of the game, it just doesn't add anything new to it. So you just can't work out how to do anything.
Yeah, that's the other thing. The game has so much junk into it, people just haven't felt like compiling all the hidden systems and information into it. They go into how the game works. And mostly because you don't need it, even on the hardest difficulty. There's no reason, unless you're doing self-imposed challenge runs, which at that point you've already broken down the system yourself, to understand what all the hidden mechanics are.
Most people end up doing an inadvertent challenge. They don't know what they're doing. Like me, which is why I finished the game by shouting, "Explosion! Explosion! Explosion!" over and over again.
Yeah, you played Magilo.
I played Magilo through almost the entire game, and I survived.
I warned you ahead of time that it would be Explosion Fest and waiting for things to cast stuff.
I was stubborn. I got there in the end, though. The telling me that I shouldn't do it was pretty much the worst thing you could have done.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, I know. I'm like that too a little bit sometimes, but
yeah,
I did try. I tried to tell you. Like, you should try out Aizen.
If you didn't want me to do it, you should have told me she was overpowered.
That would have been a lie. You had to do it in a roundabout way.
Well, you say that, but in any fight there were casters, she was overpowered.
She's situational. And well, she has some decent crowd control and support abilities that could make her OP, I guess, but everybody's so powerful it's kind of hard to tell. Like, once you get decent with Velvet, she's going to do crazy sicko numbers, and once you get good with Aizen, a single target will never be unstunned.
The Velvet doesn't do anything. She doesn't have when controlled by the AI, she doesn't even have crazy sicko HP number.
Yeah, no, the AI
just like one all the time.
The AI will do the worst combo it can possibly think of and keep her at as low health as possible the entire time. Never let the AI control Velvet. It is the worst idea ever. Yeah,
she certainly has the most reses to her name.
Oh yeah.
Good grief.
Yeah, and as a rule of thumb, the Tales series still hasn't figured out how to make casters engage into play. Don't play the casters in the Tales game. They still haven't got that far yet. We're moving forward. We're recovering from the great fall that was Graces to Zestiria. But we ain't back to modern gaming levels yet. They still haven't figured out how to make mages fun. Ugh. Righto. I rambled for an hour.
Alright, that's enough rambling then.
That's really all I got, folks. I will try to finish out because I get my life settled and get some more media for y'all. I'm working on it. Got no excuses. Well, I got reasons for why it happened, but I'm working on it. So, we'll get there eventually.
I see what you did there.
Yep. I was trying to make a pun and lost it halfway through, so I had to change it.
You broke a pun, yes. Alright, so, stupid stuff happened this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly just stupid stuff. Stupid stuff.
Whoop, you don't want to see that.
Pretty much been in a nutshell for the past 3 weeks. 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. It's been a lot of weeks now, and the industry hasn't stopped being stupid. From
Q4 2000 last year to now. All of that is just the Hold My Beerathon.
Like you go to a gaming news website and it should just start playing Yakety Sax because it's ridiculous.
It's just
Absolutely hopeless.
We should start like doing like bets, like horse races, on how out of touch each game company is that hasn't done a Hold My Beer moment yet. So when they finally do have one, we can see how bad they are.
I'm not sure if there's any company left that will have a Hold My Beer moment. They've all had their Hold My Beer moments. Except maybe CBG Project.
CD Projekt Red, Spike Chunsoft, I don't think has had a big one. They've had a few small ones though.
It's hard to tell with them whether or not it's deliberate.
Capcom actually undid their Hold My Beer moment.
They took the advertising out.
They took the advertising out of Street Fighter V.
Well, they claimed that it was only ever going to be there for the duration of promoting that one tournament. But
yeah, nobody believes that.
You don't insert an entire system for that. I'm sorry. Nobody should buy that crap.
Yeah, nobody believes that. I doubt even Capcom's biggest sycophants believe that.
Yeah, no, hang on, let me ask Sleep.
That's not very nice.
Oh, it wasn't. I love you, Sleep.
Alright, so whose beer are we holding today?
Well, since we mentioned Bethesda, and it's not actually a very long topic, we'll start with that. So, Bethesda, because they're Bethesda, and they can't possibly let another week go by without them doing something retarded, it's been found that the ever-present developer room that you can find in every Bethesda game since they started using the same engine for literally everything, that they did not bother to take that room out of Fallout 76 or disconnect it from anything.
Yeah.
So people with a little bit of technical know-how were able to get into it, and in it could be found the only NPC in the game, who is probably just a target dummy for developers, and every item in the game, including items which had not been released, because in all likelihood they are for future release either on the store or just in later patches. Although, given how things have been lately, I would say that they were probably all originally to be sold because Bethesda. But so yeah, this was a problem, and it meant that there were people running around who had the everything, and so they started trying to remedy this by tracking down, okay, so these people have got indications on their character showing that they were in this room, so we'll just ban these accounts. Now, this was idiotic twofold. First of all, they couldn't work out how these people had gotten in to begin with, and so they sent a message to the people they banned saying that, oh, we can see you've been in some illegitimate area, and until you tell us exactly how you got in there, this account is going to remain suspended. So, yeah, that sort of thing. I don't know. If I was a developer, that would be humiliating.
It would be.
To say that.
Very, very embarrassing.
You've managed to get somewhere in our game, and we can't work out how you did it, and so we need you to tell us. And until then, we're just going to hold your character ransom. The second thing, they didn't have a ready method to track the item that was stolen from the game. So they couldn't tell if people had just used a mule and got in the mule band and then just kept all the items for themselves by trading them to their other character. They had no way of figuring it out.
Cannot search server for item IDs. Not a thing. Too hard.
Well, they might not even have unique item IDs.
I know, that's what I mean.
Because they've been using the same engine since forever. If they didn't have unique item IDs in, say, Skyrim, then they're not going to have them in Fallout 76, because you don't need them in a single-player game. Any instance of an item is pretty much like any other instance.
Yeah.
If you need if you need a unique one, you make a new item.
Fiddling around with their creation engine, with their mod kit, every item does have an ID, but it's not unique. It's the same for every instance of that character item. Yeah.
Oh, it generates when it's put into the game, doesn't it? Or when it loads into the game. It's not preset. So you're dumb.
Basically, this whole thing has just been a clown fiesta again.
Okay.
Because apparently they're not capable of doing anything right.
So
only screwing up in increasingly embarrassing fashions every day.
So I'm thinking we get these guys a gift basket, like put some gold champagne in there,
No,
some chocolates.
Cheap rum.
Yeah,
yeah, cheap rum.
Put it in a canvas bag.
There you go. We'll send them a canvas gift.
Oh
gift
wait, we
basket.
can't because they've used up whatever
Oh, no.
canvas was actually on the market now.
We'll give them the last bit of canvas in the world.
Yeah. It's one thing that I've heard, I haven't done any personal confirmation of this. I've heard that modders have gone out of their way because you can mod Fallout 76.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
A lot of the
because it uses the same engine. People
Yeah.
have modded in the plastic rum bottles and the canvas bag.
people are actually been
Because
getting banned for
just
this,
to-
but you can use any graphical mod, things like texture replacers and such. Anything that works like that for Fallout 4 will work in Fallout 76.
Yeah, well, they've used it to insert canvas bags and cheap rum inside plastic enclosures into the game.
Bethesda, I want to love you. I used to love you. Now I love to laugh at you.
Well,
Mark?
they've gone to such great lengths to beclown themselves in such absurd fashion.
They have.
Like,
Oh boy. But
I-
they're not the only ones.
yeah.
No, they're not. Who are we gonna rag on next?
Let me see. I actually have the wrong window open.
How
So
about,
we got
how
Uh-oh,
about
pickle.
EA? The old favourite.
Oh, okay.
EA done it again.
Pickle.
Pickle?
Okay, we're good. I
Okay.
had a hiccup that time.
Right. So yeah, EA has done it again. So that big open world Star Wars game we were supposed to get to distract us from the cancelled single player Star Wars game. Yeah, it's cancelled now.
Actually, it's the third in the chain.
It is the third in the chain, yeah.
Yes. No, hold on. It's the fourth. It's the fourth in the chain
Oh.
because the first one was 1313,
Oh yes.
and then 1313 got transformed into an open world.
Mm-hmm.
And then the open world one got converted back into a single player one, and then the single player one got converted into an open world one, and the open world one got cancelled. So this is the same project that has been running under 4 separate project names, all directed originally by Amy Hennig, and it has
Yes.
been the same project has been running since 1313 was announced at E3 yonks ago, and they've just been reusing the assets and upgrading the engine since.
And taking out any sense of talent that Amy Hennig may have brought to the table.
Well, the thing is, Amy Hennig's shtick is the linear single player game, the
Yeah.
Uncharted,
She did
That's
the
her thing.
Uncharted's.
and they keep trying to make her do things she hates doing. They can't possibly be surprised that this
Yeah.
is the way it went.
Like,
And
Uncharted
the
was
thing is-
great. And why would they not want the same developer or the same lead who did Uncharted to do Uncharted? With Star Wars
I think
hats?
that this is the same scenario that we keep seeing, where the money people get to control the company, and what happens then is that the only thing that matters is chasing the trends, because chasing the trends increases investor confidence.
Mhm.
Investors never have confidence in innovation. It doesn't make sense from an investor's point of view to throw good money after an unproven idea. Like that's what entrepreneurs do. That's what the people who set up capital for entrepreneurs. That's a different business to being investing in a publisher.
Mhm.
People investing in a publisher go where the money they feel is sure. The problem is that this lesson that there is no such thing as sure money in gaming really hasn't sunk in yet, because there've been the halcyon days of repeated iterations of Call of Duty carried on too long. I think that distorted a lot of investors' idea of what the games market means, and
Mhm.
so we're now in this ugly position where the only people involved in making financial decisions for companies are people who are just trying to soothe investors by playing to what the investors believe. And so we end up with the same scenario, right, which we've seen, any number of times before. Call of Duty, latest Call of Duty, makes $500 million and is regarded as a failure.
Yeah.
Because it didn't make enough money. We've got situations where the Destiny 2's Forsaken expansion, which breathed new life into the game and soothed a lot of fans' worries and basically revived their community, regarded as an outright failure because it didn't make enough money. That's the case with all of these things, is because it's always you need to make more money next time than you did last time. It's not about creating a good product. That doesn't enter into the equation at all. So what we've got here is a situation where a conceptually surefire idea, like an Uncharted game set in the Star Wars universe,
I would play the ever-loving hell out of that.
It gets shelved, it gets cancelled, because, well, Uncharted doesn't make as much money as Grand Theft Auto 5 did.
It can't be sold as a service.
Yeah, it doesn't. You can't monetize it ongoing for infinity years. This whole games as a service thing has become this horrible millstone around the neck of development, that games live or die based on how well they can be monetized indefinitely. And the really painful thing about it is that Monster Hunter has shown that that's not true.
Yep.
You've got Monster Hunter World has this built from the ground up using raw old school goodwill. An entire community of people have been brought in.
Yep.
You can't buy that with money. You buy that with goodwill. And they did it. So they've shown that the thesis is wrong. The thesis is wrong that you put huge amount of money in, then you're supposed to monetize it, so that you're getting residuals constantly throughout the entire lifespan of the product, and that somehow your customers are going to be loyal enough to come back and do that a second time, and the previous investment is not going to worry them.
Yeah,
like it's just, this has been shown to not be the only way you can do things, and it's rotting on the vine the way things currently are.
Yeah, the other end of the spectrum, of course, being the single player game, which EA insistently says is dead. But you've got games like God of Boy prove that completely incorrect. Witcher 3 continues to be popular.
If they had scrapped, instead of scrapping the project Hennig was on, if they had scrapped Battlefront 2 and put all of those assets into building a really compelling single player FPS story, they would have sold that.
Yeah.
That would have been fine. Because it wouldn't be failing at what it claimed to do, which is the reason why Battlefront 2 failed. It's the reason why Battlefront 1 failed, because it sucked at what it was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Battlefront 2 had the additional albatross around their neck of, well, we deployed the most comically, moustache-twirlingly idiotic loot box system that the games industry has ever seen, attracted the attention of government investigators, and basically crap the bed for everybody in the industry as far as exploiting people with loot boxes goes. Like they can't be very popular at the cocktail parties after that decision. Nope. But yeah, it's if they had, instead of wasting all their money on what is supposed to be a surefire thing, then they would be in such a better position right now. They wouldn't be seen as a criminally incompetent steward of the license. They wouldn't be seen as a criminally incompetent group of publishers in general. Like, this whole idea of the surefire thing has been shown to be wrong so many times in succession over the past year. It astonishes me that anybody is still pushing that line. Where has there been a success? What success is there by the metrics that they are using? The most profitable game to come out in forever that isn't, an EA Sports title is probably Call of Duty.
Yes.
And it made $500 million, but it's a failure. What do you have to do to be a success? If everything is a failure, then I'm sorry, but your thesis that it's a surefire thing just doesn't hold water.
I think it's because the money people are the people that are making these decisions. Because I would place a monetary bet that when they hear the word video game, they think FIFA is exactly the same thing as World of Warcraft. And they have no context for any of the decisions they're making when they look at market trends for video games, and they just see stats and numbers, and they're like, oh, follow the trends. Because that's exactly what it seems like whenever these companies fall on their face.
Well, I'll try this one on for size then, since I haven't ragged on Blizzard yet today. So Blizzard have brought out an addition to their World of Warcraft store where they are selling toys, and the idea in this case is they want to basically crowdfund part of the prize pool for their pro scene for PvP and Mythic Plus pro gaming, and they want to crowdfund it partly from selling toys on the store. So bear in mind that Blizzard's image right now is as deep in the toilet as it could possibly be, pretty much. They're already on the back of, they released a terrible patch and then released a pay mount in the store, and then they released they had a special sale for, I think pets and mounts that they were going to temporarily retire from availability.
Why
to generate artificial scarcity.
Of course.
And each time, of course, players have reacted by splitting the dummy because, this is blatantly anti-consumer, transparently cynical.
The player base is not as stupid as they continue to think it is.
And building on top of that, now they're releasing new toys that you have to pay to get in order so that they can fund their pro scene that almost nobody cares about. So I think that the reason they think they can keep nickeling and diming this is that they think World of Warcraft is the same as StarCraft and so forth. So like StarCraft, when you buy the game, you get the game. And if you want to buy other little ding-dongs to attach to the game, well, you can pay money for those extra ding-dongs and you keep everything that you already had, regardless of whether you buy ding-dongs. You have the entire game. But World of Warcraft, everybody has got a ongoing expenditure to continue to play this game already. They expect a certain amount of material to be provided for that, and a higher quality of item is required in order to generate the will to part with a bit of extra dosh. So basically everybody's spitting the dummy again. I mean, you look at there are other companies that do this shtick of crowdfunding their pro scene. Dota 2 does it.
Yeah.
I think. And they have an enormous laundry list of perks and stuff you get for contributing in that way. They aren't just tacking a toy onto their store. So there are other companies that do this sort of thing, but Blizzard has just taken the most boneheaded way that anybody could possibly imagine to, sell toys on their store. Oh, well, we can add another thing to the store and people will spend money on it.
What kind of toys are they? Like, they've been selling plushies through their website for a while now. Are these those?
When I say toys on their store, I mean in-game toys.
Oh, right. So
yeah, I'm not talking about
not actual toys.
If it's plushies, when you buy a plushie, you get a product, even if it's an overpriced one.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the in-game store where they sell mounts and helms and stuff.
So, fiddly knickknacks.
Yeah. Fiddly knickknack.
Yeah, not real stuff.
That would be a bridge too far. I have not heard anybody say anything about that. Everybody seems to be saying that it's in-game stuff. Unless everybody has the wrong end of it, which is also possible, because I haven't done a huge amount of research on this. That's why I didn't make it one of the main topics. But yeah, I was inspired by Ari saying that everybody thinks that FIFA and World of Warcraft are basically the same game and should be monetized in the same way. Well, even Blizzard doesn't understand the distinctions between their own game.
No, they don't.
Yeah. We've just hit a point in the industry, I think, where the old hats that were the entrepreneurs when video gaming was coming out of the first great crash, they've all shuffled around or moved out or aren't together anymore or are burnt. And people have coattailed with them and gotten into higher up positions, and they don't have the same investment or on-the-ground level experience that the original dudes did. And in addition, the dudes that are still there that did all that have been too busy making video games to keep up with the gaming community and actually play vidya.
It's like, see, the sad reality is that probably Bobby Kotick cares more about video games than a lot of the schmucks in charge now.
And he loves money.
Yeah, he does love money.
My dad met Bobby once at a shareholder meeting for Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the level of incompetence in making these decisions, like the new guy that just got signed at Blizzard, who had he got signed with like a $3.5 million bonus in hand, plus another like $11.5 million in stock options.
Mm-hmm.
Like the new CFO, he's got to somehow, justify that. Like the reason you get these big bonuses is because they want to proof against getting somebody who makes incompetent financial decisions. But let's be real, we're the only people we've seen make competent financial decisions of any sort are the people who have left as fast as possible from the games industry. Like the woman who left from Blizzard that we talked about last week. Like the only real thing she did in her year working at Blizzard as their CFO was to shed as much dead weight as possible to sell it, to basically get rid of a whole bunch of superfluous employees when Blizzard doesn't have enough project on the go to employ that 100 people that she set up a plan to get rid of. Everybody got the best out of that deal since it was, paid redundancy basically.
Yeah.
Optional paid redundancy at that. But it was basically been all cost-cutting measures from her, and then she got out after doing nothing but cutting costs. So there's clearly something wrong going on. It's sort of hard to say exactly what. They've got this new guy coming in. They paid a mint to get him to stay put, and he's got to somehow haul Blizzard out of the tar pit that they've gotten themselves mired in.
I would not like to be that guy.
I don't want to be the guy to navigate this PR disaster.
No.
Yeah, it's just been Blizzard and Activision and EA and Bethesda and Ubisoft. They've just been hauling themselves from PR disaster to PR disaster. It's that scene from The Simpsons where Sideshow Bob keeps stepping on rakes. You know the one.
Classic scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the games industry right now.
Yep.
Yeah. Until somebody either calls everybody together and has a meeting about, okay, guys, I think I figured out why we done goofed, and here's how we're going to fix it. We got to hit a point where it's going to crash. You can't sustain it like this.
I don't think that there is the talent left in the industry right now at a managerial and production level to head off a crash. I think it's just going to be a big crash or a small crash. That's the best we can hope for.
Yes.
Or a delayed crash or an immediate crash. Like it's not about the if, it's about the how big and when at this point. Yeah. Because all of the creatives have been driven out by the money people. There's really no arguing.
Yeah,
doesn't seem like it anyway.
As funny as the Hold My Marathon is for us, you can't successfully navigate a business environment like this. It's not feasible. Like whatever industry you're in there's red flags all over the place, which Blizzard's higher echelon CEOs have seen. I just don't think they understand why.
Yeah, and that's really the thing. All of this data is available in the entire commentariat of people who aren't, running interference for big companies like the Polygons and the Kotakus. The reason why Polygon and Kotaku get their news before other people is because you get more sources if you're willing to run interference for companies. That's as simple as that. But if you listen to any other part of the commentariat, the people who, they do a show on YouTube with 300,000 subscribers or whatever, those sort of mid-size YouTubers.
The mid-high but not bought out people. Yeah.
But they know what they're doing, but they aren't on the take. And the reason why they aren't working for a big company is because they aren't willing to compromise their ethics enough. Like those people, if you listen to any one of them, pick any one of them, even the ones that people hate because they think they're on the take, like Portering or Yongyao or any of those ones, like any one of them will tell you exactly what's going on. It's the people making the decisions don't understand game. They understand only money. And they think that the video games industry will operate exactly the same way as any other commodity. And it just doesn't. It doesn't. Games were successful when people making them loved them as much as the people playing them, and only then.
Furthermore, they're both a creative and a fluid medium. They change every year. And if you don't understand video games, you can't adapt to the trends of video games. Period. End.
I mean, realistically, how much has the common domestic car changed over the past 50 years? How much?
I mean,
materials. That's about it.
Yeah, like your shape of your car has fit the new trends, and that's it.
And the shape changes are very subtle, and the amount of a given type of car that will be purchased by the market might shift. But the product itself is pretty much the same. It's just the garnishing that changes. In video games, not so much. Not so much. The market's very volatile. Things go up and down all the time in a very dramatic fashion. And that's how you can get things that boom the way Fortnite did, and things that bust the way PUBG did.
Yeah, it's all just, especially with a community as interconnected as the gaming community, it's all word of mouth on top of that. If you do something stupid, people will know, and they will not buy your product. And I think the games industry is just realizing they suddenly don't have enough good IPs to carry them anymore. Like, they've burned them all with bad business decisions, and they can't live on the name of the people that made products before they came and took over. So
the chain of events that we need to see is, we need to see somebody needs to innovate, their innovation needs to be good and successful, and other people need to realize that it was the innovation, not the genre, that made it successful. That's the chain that we really need to see. And currently, it's not happening, because people see Fortnite and they think, oh, well, all we have to do is be exactly like Fortnite and we'll get Fortnite levels.
Yeah.
And for whom has that worked?
Yeah. It didn't work with the Dota clones. It didn't work with the WoW clones. So why would the Battle Royale be any different?
There are 2 Dota games left in existence. Dota 2 and LoL.
Yep.
Those are the only ones. And how many were there 10 years ago?
They were everywhere.
Well, I don't know that it was 10 years ago. I hope it wasn't actually 10 years.
Yes, it was.
It was about 10 years ago, actually.
It was in that ballpark.
Yeah. I'm just going to go and sit on the porch in a rocking chair.
So yeah, you've got Dota 2, you've got League of Legends, and sometimes you've got Smite.
Smite is such a small player.
Yeah.
Both in terms of the finer points of the genre and in terms of the market share, they are not worth talking about in the same conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, Smite's spun off into basically an entirely different genre at this point. I don't even think the main gameplay mode is
and that was smart.
Mode.
And that was very smart.
Yeah.
If they had tried to be Dota, they would have gotten crushed like Heroes of the Storm did. Heroes of the Storm flirted with being another genre, but never committed.
Yeah, it had some interesting ideas, but it never really moved away from that core premise. Smite has. And they've got their own little niche, and they're doing quite well out of it. So good for that. Good on them.
The thing is that do you think that for a investor who invests money in Blizzard, do you think that what money Smite makes would be considered successful to them?
Absolutely
That's
not.
the thing. They've got the wrong people driving the decision.
You can't wallpaper your house with pure gold bricks, so of course they're not happy.
You need investors, it's true. It's very important to have investors because it costs a lot to make games with the sort of the scope that people want to see and the ability to move into worldwide markets and so on and so forth. And I think that the best thing that could happen for the games industry is for it to crash, so that people can see that it doesn't matter how much money you throw at it, it's never going to be a surefire thing just because you threw money at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the faulty logic going on here. Is they think that, all you need is global ambitions and a global budget and you'll get a global success.
Yeah. It also needs to
really
crash, I think, actually, from a financial point of view.
Well,
like,
yeah.
At
and
this
there's
point,
nothing
the amount of money that's being pumped in by investors cannot hope to be matched by the money that the gamers can put back. And that's why you end up with the big COD blowouts and things like that.
Well, the thing is that COD wasn't a blowout.
No,
COD made $500 million. That's $500 million that it didn't cost to make because it's cheap to make a new COD game.
Yeah.
Costs pittance. It's just that the investors weren't happy at how much it made, and they started to pull their money out as a result.
And thus, it's a flop. At least from their end of things.
Yeah, from the investors' end of things, it's a flop. It doesn't matter that by any sane metric, it was a workhorse revenue generator.
Yeah.
I don't want that. Everybody wants to be Fortnite. Everybody wants to replicate the Epic Miracle. The same way everybody wanted to replicate the Dota Miracle. Everybody wanted to replicate the World of Warcraft Miracle. You just can't replicate things because you want to and throw a lot of money at.
You don't go for a home run every hit. Sometimes you gotta take the single or the double.
Well, and you got to lay that groundwork so you can get the Grand Slam later, right?
Yeah.
You can't just assume you're going to get it right out of the gate. Like that magic happens once in a while, but it's magic. It's magic. You can't expect it to happen again.
How many modern series do people still actually talk about for longer than 3 years? Can you even think of one?
Well,
I think the last decade.
The acceleration of the news cycle doesn't help with that. But I mean,
well, no, but the general point is that all the games people talk about and all the characters and IPs that people are interested in are all old as dirt and did not have financial backing of investors behind them. They were just people doing the best with what they had.
Yeah. You can
even if we talk about new titles, like even new entries into franchises, the ones that people talk about for more than a year, like how many of them are there in the market? There's just not that many. That's part of why I was so impressed with Monster Hunter. They haven't nickeled and dimed us even a little bit. There are a couple of optional costumes if you want them for some reason, but there's really not much else. Now, think about that. This game is just about a year old now.
It will be a year old next week.
It survived a year containing, it survived the year containing the Fortnite boom. It survived the year containing Red Dead Redemption 2. And all of these other sort of like juggernaut names came out in the course of that year. And people are still talking about and playing Monster Hunter and not those games.
Furthermore, it managed to do it while having most of the mechanics completely obscured from the player's view. In terms of raw numbers, anyway.
But it's that goodwill thing, though, right? Everybody loves Monster Hunter because they feel like Monster Hunter wants them to have fun. Yeah. Because it keeps giving you stuff.
Yeah. It could have gone the entire other way.
Yeah.
Like, you could go out and farm for potions, or you could give us $10 and we'll just give you a big bundle of them. But to actually monetize Monster Hunter World as it exists now would be easy. Very, very easy.
It would also be suicide, though.
Yes, it would.
Because people would change the way they looked at you.
Yes.
Right now, they look at Monster Hunter and they see a game that keeps giving. If you offer this additional option, then they will see it as a money-making engine.
Yep.
Yeah. You just can't get rid of that nagging feeling of, oh man, I just finished farming all these herbs to make all my healing potions. And then the guy next to you's like, oh, hang on, let me just bust out the wallet.
Yeah.
You're just gonna, like, you never know who's that guy.
But that thing, that breaks up community.
Yeah.
That
erodes communities. Monster Hunter World now has a community that they built almost from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They tackled the unified gameplay experience the way I think Pokemon likes to, in a more hardcore setting.
Yeah.
And in that everybody plays the exact same video game. And you know what everybody else has done by just looking at them. And you can compare yourself to them or admire their accomplishments because they're way better than you.
Yeah, like a lot of games these
classic
days
WoW, basically.
Yeah, like Monster Hunter, you can look at a character and they're wearing a certain set of armor and you know they've gone out and they've earned that armor. They haven't bought it.
Yeah.
They've earned it.
Yeah.
And it makes it all the sweeter.
They have got eaten enough times to deserve what they are wearing.
Yes.
Yeah. They have proven they can play the video game. When you are sure everybody has played the video game, that's worth like triple points in getting people to stick around.
It's not something that appears on the surface either. It's just the sort of undercurrent in the community. Everybody knows that it's true, so everybody.
But investors don't.
They can interact with each other a bit more honestly in that sense because there's no lie in what they look like.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the fact that there are no girls on the internet. Other than that, but yeah, it's. And the thing is, as much as I would normally be loath to praise Capcom, they figured that one out. Their Monster Hunter team have that figured out. When you want to create a phenomenon, you have to come by it honest. They did the hard yards to create a game that could accommodate a community. And now you've got all these other games that are doing crossovers with them.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, this is a community here they're operating with where there's a certain amount of crossover in the fan bases that could potentially be there. There's a certain amount of crossover in people who like the IPs or the mechanics that, we could lure people from here to there and there to here. And this is a strategy that only works when you recognize the existence of a thing which is the Monster Hunter player community. You can't actually sell a crossover to a person unless that is a cohesive community. Like nobody would give a toss about a crossover in Call of Duty. That wouldn't affect anybody on either side. Yeah. But because Monster Hunter has a community, they are a marketable demographic in their own right. Just like the Witcher community, who are crossing over with Monster Hunter, just like the Final Fantasy XIV community, who cross over with Monster Hunter, because they are communities, you can do that sort of crossover. You can't do a crossover if there's no properly realized communities. And in 1 year, just 1 year, they managed to build that for Monster Hunter. That shows that they're doing something right, something that other companies need to learn from.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff you can't put a number on that we know as gamers, and you do too if you play video games. Just stuff about individual accomplishment, being a part of a community, being able to compare yourself to others and see how far along you are in terms of progress throughout the metagame or whatever, for whatever game you're playing. Stuff like this that investors just don't know. And the current CEOs of these companies also don't know. And the people that are moving the money don't know. So, yeah. It's real easy to see how we've wound up in the age of sequels where everything's agenda pushing or microtransaction heavy just to try and squeeze all your money out of you.
Yes.
Right, what else do we have?
I'm so tired.
Soldier Boy?
You can talk about Soldier Boy if you want.
Oh boy.
I think we touched briefly on this last week. Soldier Boy and his console. Because he's a serious player in the console market.
Consoles.
Consoles, plural now. So yes, we mentioned last week how his Soldier console, or whatever it was called, got shut down because, hey, it's a cheap import box from China with pirated Nintendo games all over it. Because China doesn't give two tosses about international copyright. So yeah, whenever you
Nintendo ain't gonna do nothing.
Nintendo ain't gonna do nothing. Oh wait, they did something.
Yeah.
So his response to that was to go back to the drawing board, and instead of selling a cheap, crappy Nintendo pirate box knockoff, he's going to sell a very cheap, very crappy PS Vita knockoff.
But carefully avoid listing any of the games on it on the actual sales articles, so that he would have plausible deniability that they hadn't been put on by the person who buys it.
Yes. And oh, well and behold, it's the same thing again. You can buy this box for like $30 on Alibaba. Incidentally, none of these boxes actually has his own mark on them either, I should point out. They're just in generic boxes. They're a generic packaging. It's just a nondescript box or a nondescript crappy-looking PS Vita.
Yeah. I can't even with Soldier Boy. I don't know how to process him as a person.
Thing is, he's a has-been who's desperately clinging to fame because he's like all of these other rappers who had one hit and then disappeared off the face of the earth. He's constantly trying to talk like he's any day now he's going to be a big player in the games industry. I can't remember if it's him, but there was somebody, either it was him or someone like him, who was talking about how they were going to start a pro esports team and
that's
name dropping, quote famous unquote gamer, quote gamer unquote people like Ninja, and about how he's my friend, he's been helping me set this up type of thing. Like there's just these people who
here it is,
desperate for validation.
Yeah, it was Soldier Boy.
Yeah, he's just desperate for validation. Like he hasn't had a hit since like 2008 or whatever it was that he did the one thing that people thought was a funny meme, and I don't know, he's just some guy, probably extraordinarily poorly educated based on his inability to speak coherent English. And
yeah, and so just to give you a little bit of context on Soldier Boy, because he's from my ballpark of the woods, I'm pretty sure. He was young. I think
He
in his
still
teens
looks young.
when Soulja Boy Tell Him the meme song came out, and everybody made it a meme because it was stupid. He was like, I think in his teens, like mid-teens. So he's like a 15-year-old that had a wad of cash dropped in his lap that could sustain him for 10 years.
When you give a teenager a wad of cash like that, the one thing that they do is never grow up.
Yeah.
Ever. So he's now, you know, in his 20s or 30s with the mentality of a 15-year-old, and he's probably realized that his money is running out.
Right. Like, you know how we sounded 10 years ago and how stupid we were? You know why we're not as stupid as we were? Well, we're still stupid. We're not that stupid. You know why? Because we had to go earn money and live.
I'm stupid about different things now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still pretty stupid, but I don't have a fanfiction.net page.
I don't either. 13-year-old and he's dead.
So it bears without saying that Soldier Bear's entire shop is now gone because he had all these cheap knockoff watches and other crap on there as well. Same basic junk on there. And what does he do? He immediately cracks out the race card.
Obviously.
Obviously.
They try to keep him down because he's black.
Thing is, I have a lot of respect for some of the big rappers. Not all of them, but some of them. I hate their music, but I love what they do with the money they get from it. A lot of them kind of came out from the slums, so they put a lot of money back into those slums to improve the life of the people there through scholarships.
I don't know if that's a lot of them.
Not
I
a
think
lot
there
of
might
them.
be one or two.
There's a handful of them that do that.
Let me go ahead and tell you, Fern, and spoil your bubble here. Most of the people that say they came from the ghetto came from a neighborhood that was just a bunch of stereotypical American white picket fence American houses.
That's not the point, though. The point is that there are those out there who actually put the money back in, not squander it on whatever the hell Soulja Boy squandered it on. Crappy console, I guess. So, yeah, his shop is just gone now.
Yeah. Did anybody think it was going to stay up? Is anybody surprised?
I'd be very surprised if they did.
Like, I know the government's a little busy nowadays because they got to post 10 Trump hate articles a second, but, like...
Yeah.
I mean, the copyright division of whoever sues you is going to own the crap out of you. The second they get wind of something like that, you have to be a new level of stupid to think you're going to get away with that.
Twice. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So,
yeah, I'm sorry, folks. I'm a little out of it today. I'm really tired. I'm talking in circles and losing my sentences. Oh, it's bad.
Yeah, that's alright. We should start wrapping up because I've got to work and I don't want to.
So there's no room to talk about Ubi. Probably better if we don't.
Yeah, it's just face palming all the way through that whole business.
Very, very stupid. Very.
Very stupid. So,
It's not really it's sort of only half their fault anyway.
half their fault. It's still a good chunk their fault, but it's not entirely their fault. So anyway, did you want to very quickly touch on it?
Yeah, we can cover it.
All right,
Just quickly.
hit it.
So basically, there's a shtick where, well, basically they made a huge deal about player choice in the Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Is it called Odyssey? I think so.
I forget which one. It's kind of this grey mass.
They made a big deal about player choice in Assassin's Creed, and of course, in video gaming today, the only thing that matters is whether you can choose to be gay. So, well, the only thing that matters to games on the code, not the only thing that matters to gamers. Most actual gamers don't give a toss.
No.
Unless it would be funny. If it was funny, then they might care.
Or it tells a good story. But
I think it needs to be funny more than it needs to be a good story. But at any rate, I digress. It was so the thing is, anybody who's been playing Assassin's Creed for any length of time, playing any of the initial ones, knows that the entire premise of Assassin's Creed is based on the old sci-fi trope of genetic memory, that you can extract memories from genes. The thing about genes is that they're passed down through siring offspring.
Via the bears.
And if there's one thing that the gays can't do for definite, it's have kids. So it's pretty hard to create a, you know, exclusively homosexual character in a game entirely about lineage where they pass their lineage down. So in order to reconnect the story with the core genetic heritage, genetic memory plot thread of Assassin's Creed, there's a DLC story wherein the main character of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, who, in contrast to their proclamations about player choice, is canonically female, they've made her have a relationship with a male character and have a child, obviously. Now, this has generated a staggering amount of backlash from people who I presume don't play the game.
I believe it is.
Maybe there are a few of them who don't play the game. So there's a lot of taking place because they feel like, oh my goodness, my gay character has been forced into an icky heterosexual relationship for the purposes of plot, etc., etc. So this is 100% a necessity for the sake of the storyline. It is 0% a necessity for the coherence of the game internally. If you don't want to do it, it doesn't affect. If you don't want to complete that plot line, it doesn't affect your ability to play any of the other DLC or anything. It's just the one plot line. So if you're that squicked out by, you know, normal sexual relations, then the implication of normal sexual relations might be more accurate. Then you don't need to participate in this DLC. But, you know, the story doesn't make sense without it, period.
No.
And the thing that I thought was the most poignant about that particular matter was Ubisoft have gone out of their way to be, you know, progressive ideological warriors with this game. Like, a dramatic distance out of the way. They've perverted every aspect of their game in order to accommodate. In fact, I heard that the nude mods for Assassin's Creed Odyssey have come out recently. And it turns out that the mesh for females is almost identical to the mesh for males. So,
okay.
Basically, if you make the female character nude, she just looks like a dude. Just completely flat-chested, just has pectoral muscle. Anyway,
right.
So yeah, they have made the character model as androgynous as possible because, you know, suggesting that there might be a biological difference between men and women is not kosher. Apparent. But yeah, so Ubisoft have gone out of their way to be gender warriors on this, and they have been bitten by backlash. And the amusing thing to me about all of this is that the way the progressives who may or may not actually play video games, and I'm leaning on the may not, the thing that they're objecting to is the very thing that they were cheering about when the quote announcement unquote of Soldier 76 from Overwatch being gay came out. The idea that a character would be arbitrarily made gay upset some people, and because it doesn't have anything to do with the game, and it's blatant pandering to a fan base that don't play the game, or at least most of them don't. That upset a few people. They thought that it was an ideological intrusion into a game that didn't need it. And the progressive warriors were crowing about it. This is the exact same thing, except it makes sense. Like, the character has to be straight at least part of the time in order for the game to fit into the universe. And now they're upset that in order for a plot hole to be closed, oh dear, this character can't be allergic to the opposite sex. What a pity.
Remember
that all of a sudden it's not cool. It's not cool to force a sexuality on a character all of a sudden. When it was before, it was totally cool before. In fact, it was preferable because it made people upset, and that made it better.
These are all the people that took all those Het U comics that spread around as a meme about 15 years ago seriously. Don't remember those? No.
No, I
No,
don't
I-
remember those.
The phrase rings a bell, but it also sounds like something I would avoid like plague.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so that Ubi is now being snowed under from complaints and opprobrium from the very people that they were seeking to pander to, people who don't affect their bottom line at all.
You know, regardless of industry trends, what I really don't get is pandering to professional complainers.
Yeah, you can't
Because-
win that game
You
ever.
never win that game.
Like, regardless of what you believe and whether you agree with them or not, it doesn't matter. They're going to find something to complain about. It's what their identity is based on. It's who they are. They complain about stuff.
That's what they're there for. Like, you can't win. But maybe this is just another part of the fact that people making games now don't understand game. Like, this is an unwinnable proposition. The game cannot be won. So why exactly are you playing?
Yeah. Alright, so that's stupidity. We need to wrap up.
All right, let's wrap
Yes,
up.
we do. All right, folks. Email topic of the week. Somebody email me a way to organize my schedule so I can play video games again. If
You
you can
can't.
do it before I can come up with one, I will give you the time that you saved me. Somehow. I'm very tired.
But are you not going to have MLK Day off?
I will, so I'll have one day of rest. But that to get that day, because everybody in the office forgot about it, I had to stay up until like 3 in the morning making phone calls last night. And did not get my usual 2 chunks of 3 hours at all, because I was running around doing shenanigans because people are hurt and sick all. So yeah. So yeah. I'll be more awake when things calm down, folks. I am working on fixes. I'm not sitting on my buttocks just saying, "Oh, I can't." I promise. You got anything?
Nope.
I think I might sit on my buttocks saying no, I can't.
I can't
maybe I'll
because
do
I'm not
that.
sitting on my buttocks.
What?
So yeah. Need time to
Okay.
sit on buttocks.
Yeah.
What, you have a
All right,
standing
folks.
desk?
No. I'm on buttocks at the moment.
I'm very confused, Fern.
I know, right? Too much.
All right,
I
folks.
liked it better when we were talking about boobies rather than buttocks.
Well, we know which side of the fence all falls on now.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly a boob man.
No, actually I'm not, but that's a discussion for another time, and that hopefully will not be live.
No.
All right, folks. I'm going to close this show out before we say something stupid in our delirium from being tired and exhausted. Never grow up, kids. Sayonara. Bye-bye.